All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this, the Monday, September 8th, 2025 meeting of the Lunenburg Planning Board. We are here at the upstairs Bellotta Meeting Room at beautiful Town Hall. You can, if you want to join us tonight and you're watching out in TV land, you can come down here and join us at Town Hall. You can log in with Zoom. The meeting is being recorded because it's on TV and on Zoom as well, but you can log in with Zoom. You can get the link from our agenda on the town website, and there's a phone number for calling in as well if that works better for you, but we love to see your faces here. If you have any questions, feel free to log in. That is the start of our meeting. That's our opening. And moving on to Chair's report. The comparatively light 2 weeks in terms of new news coming out of the planning office. The big new news is the land use director position did get posted. It is live. And hopefully we'll have some qualified applicants coming in. And now that it's posted in what I hope is a more competitive way. We'll see. But that is potentially good news in the future. Adam, you brought up last meeting the scams that have been kind of out there hitting applicants before planning boards. And I'll mention it again now because we mentioned it at the end of last meeting, and I don't fault you if you don't stay till the end of the meeting, even if you're watching it on YouTube. They're long. But there are documented cases across the Northeast of scammers targeting people with applications before planning boards, zoning boards of approval, and other municipal boards and committees. And the reason for that, I mean, these applications are public knowledge, right? They're all part of a public process. So they are going through, they're finding applicants and then reaching out often with very official looking letterhead or with an official looking phone number saying, hey, you owe us more money and your application can't go through unless you pay us. And the way they have you, the people pay is often the gift card kind of thing that we're trained to look out for, but not always. Regardless, if you receive communication from the town with asking for payment that you are not expecting, or even if you are expecting it but want to verify, if it's a phone call, you're going to hang up, you're going to look up the number of that office using Google or whatever, and you're going to call that office and get back talking to the same person, okay? No town employee is going to have a problem with that, and that just makes sure. Now, our number, they're going to use their number. Do that. It's just a way to protect you. Now, I do want to let everyone know that there are warnings about that now on the town website. It went out as a Facebook and social media blast as well. And I don't know if we've done it yet, but the plan is to shortly get that, it may have already happened, get that same text into OpenGov so new applications coming in get that as like a note, hey, pay attention to this screen before getting into the rest of the application. We're trying to get the info in front of people who this might affect as much as we're able. And speaking of OpenGov, the current plan is that Brian will be joining us at our next meeting on the 22nd, Brian Gingras, Building Commissioner. to give us a training in OpenGov. He expects that will take roughly half an hour. I still have to do it, but I'm going to coordinate with Kara to make sure that we have whatever we need here so that he can do a screen share. Just because looking at the back of, our best bet may be looking at the back of the room, but if we have another solution, we'll see. The planning office will reach out when we get closer to that date to anyone who has a public hearing that night and just lets them know we're going to have a half-hour-ish training first. So they're not paying their engineers to come in and wait while we're learning things. I think those are the biggies from the office right now. Am I missing anything y'all know of? Cool. Okay. Great. Calling up. There we go. That's better. Now the agenda on my screen. First on our agenda after that stand. Oh, I didn't ask for public comment. How rude of me. Is there any public comment? That could be in the room or online. You can use that hand raise feature if you're online using Zoom. Seeing none, we will move in. We have a continuation of the A&R plans from 825 for 830 Mass Ave.
Thank you very much. Greg Roy with Dillison Roy, representing the applicant this evening. I think that Ryan Proctor was before you last meeting to discuss this plan, and you had a couple of clarifying questions, most notably verifying that the area didn't include, that we had enough prerequisite area, not including the portions of the site that were less than 50 feet. So we did update the as-built plan to amend that with that information on the bottom of the table. I think you have it in your packet, so I can't read it. I should have brought I've reached the age of needing glasses to read, and I didn't bring them tonight, but Shark isn't working.
Yeah, squeeze side to side.
I did. There it is. Down here, you can see that I think there's in excess of 91,000. The green area that I've highlighted on this plan, of course, not on the recordable Mylar that you'll sign, but the green areas are the portions that are less than 50 feet. And I think the remaining land is something like 91,000. It's down there. So we have in excess of that. And I think that was all.
Okay.
From what I understand. So.
Great. That was the, I believe that was the only, well, first of all, let me say, Adam, I think that was your question. Does that satisfy your needs?
That satisfies my question.
Great. Do we have any other questions about this A&R from last meeting? I would then, if there's no questions, and no comments, I would look for a motion.
Motion to endorse.
Second.
Do we need to include the specific plan in the motion or no? Like, do we, or not plan, but do we need to give the address in the motion? I do it out of habit, but I don't know if it's required.
I mean, motion to endorse the A&R plan for 830 Mass Ave.
Yeah.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you. Super. Next up, we have the public hearing for 1083 Northfield Road, the special permit and stormwater management permit. So the quick info for the board. This was, we looked at this first with Mr. Allison on the board, but due to the kind of recomposition of the board during that time, we could know it would be impossible to get quorum. So the, I believe it was withdrawn without prejudice or some such, I don't know my technical terms, in that level, refiled. So this is a new public hearing. We will need to open it again. But as the agenda says, we included refiled, last discussed 825. That way people at home could follow along.
So question, if we have to reopen it, do I have to read?
Yes.
Okay, I don't believe it's in the file that we have on OpenGov, unless it's labeled under something that. You can read a paper copy.
Oh, you getting the paper copy, Jen? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
This, I think, is not it. No, we need the
The advertisement.
language, the pursuant to blah, blah, blah.
This was the original one, which is the same.
That's fine, I can change the date on it, right?
Yeah.
Should be the same wording.
Should, but we did file this, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just want to make,
I can pull it from the website and send it right over.
okay, we're going to need that file included with the record and everything else, but that's fine. You can read from that. It's going to be the same words.
The Lunenburg Planning Board will hold a public hearing on September 8th, 2025 at 6:05 PM, Town Hall, 17 Main Street, Lunenburg, Mass. To hear and review applications for special permit and stormwater management permit respectively pursuant to 250-6.4C, 7, and 204-1D of the Code of the Town of Lunenburg by Tanner Cole for construction of a common driveway to service 4 single-family dwellings. The subject property information, the location is 1083 Northfield Road, Assessors Map 55, parcel number 5. Owner is Tanner Cole, 856 Mass Avenue in Lunenburg, Mass. You can view materials online at lunenburgma.portal.opengov.com/search with record ID PBSW-25-1 and PBSP-25-5 via an email request to the planning office, planning@lunenburgma.gov, or in person at the planning office at 960 Mass Avenue in Lunenburg, Mass.
All right. Thank you. Take it
Excellent.
away.
Thank you for the introduction. Greg Roy with Dillison Roy, representing the applicant. Tanner is with us this evening. And first of all, thank you for the explanation. I was going to go into that, but we are here to technically open the, or reopen, but open the public hearing for both the stormwater management permit and the special permit application for the common driveway. I did want to give a little bit more context, history, which will bring us up to date. As part of the previous application, the town your board sent the project out to Graves Engineering for peer review. They had issued an initial peer review letter, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago now. We have responded to that peer review comment letter, and on September 4th, Graves issued essentially an all-clear letter. So there's no remaining engineering comments from Graves relative to the plans and calculations that were submitted. So I'm really here to present that. I didn't want to reread everything into the record, but I'll do a little bit of history just to by way of setting the table for, I think, what I wanted to talk about briefly to close my remarks. But the plan is exactly the way you saw it 4 weeks ago, I think it was. We're proposing a common driveway from Northfield to access, in this case, 5 lots. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Just for everybody's recollection and for anybody that might be listening, the town's bylaw allows for the construction of a common driveway to access 4 lots. The applicant filed for a variance application, or actually it was a variance application. It was not a special permit, it was a variance application, to petition the Board of Appeals to allow for the inclusion of a 5th lot in this specific case, in this specific part of town. And the reason for that, I can go into this more, but the reason for that is that the frontage on that fifth lot, constructing another driveway through this area would result in a significant increase in the amount of wetlands and resource area disturbance and just woodland disturbance, quite frankly. So the zoning board did indeed grant that variance. That was done probably 3 months ago. Appeal period's got done. It's been filed with the Registry of Deeds, which is why we updated the plans and have this plan before you. I wanted to be clear on that. And I guess I know there was some discussion here about that point last meeting. And, I guess your board has whatever prerogatives you feel like you have, and I don't dispute that. But I guess I wanted to say that, and I understand that your office has been in a state of flux, your board's been in a state of flux, but we did have an application before the Zoning Board of Appeals that was a matter of public process, public meeting. There was an appeal period associated with that. If your board was going to object to it, I guess I would have hoped that we would have heard that during the Zoning Board of Appeals process. We did that intentionally before we came before you so that, we could get that out of the way. And we did come and give you an update that was happening during the process. So, I understand that there was some discussion. I wasn't here for it, but I understand there was some discussion to that effect. And I just wanted to bring that, put that note into the record. I think that this is a very specific case. We did ask for a variance, which is a very high bar in terms of being able to prove hardship. And the Zoning Board of Appeals determined that they could grant based on the criteria. So I wanted to point that out. And then secondly, I think the only other thing that I can remember that was discussed, or that Ryan Proctor, I should say, told me to opine on a little bit was, I think there was a discussion relative to the ultimate limits of clearing on the lots that we're showing. We, of course, have defined a limit of clearing around each of the proposed building areas where the houses would go. And we have based our stormwater calculations on those limits of clearing. We think we're fairly generous with those areas. That there's a pretty significant amount of it. It's not just the area around the septic systems. There's some other areas plus the houses. I don't think we'd object if you need to put some sort of language in an approval relative to this. I don't think we'd object to that. But I wanted to just note that we did acknowledge that comment. And we didn't opt to change the plan because we think we have enough in there, certainly for construction and I think for a reasonable use of a single-family lot that we have here. So I think that was all. I wanted to just kind of give a little bit of historical context. And so this is a little bit of an odd one. It's an opening public hearing, but you already have a lot of information. So I'm happy to take any questions or comments that you folks have.
Great. I'm going to ask for public comment. I don't see anyone in Zoom nor extra public here, but I am going to formally ask for it. If you do have public comment, but you haven't logged in on Zoom yet, log in, raise your hand. We'll get to you. That's fine, okay? But is there any public comment at this time? Nope. If you have some and you're on your way, that's not an issue. When there's not much public here raring to go, I risk not thinking to ask, and we need to.
Absolutely.
Great. So I will turn to the board and say, we've seen this to varying degrees before. I don't know how much each of us has seen. Some of us have seen all of it. And we've also had a chance to research. This is a new public hearing. So it's not like we don't know things we don't know, but we can also rehash old topics as needed as well. And that's not, that is an intended feature, not a flaw. But to that end, questions from the board?
I'll start, since I raised most of the questions the last time around. I wasn't involved in the original hearing, so I didn't have the knowledge to object to the variance. My concern is what the development process for this plan was, because the fifth lot that was added on doesn't have viable frontage per the zoning bylaw as actual access to the building lot. And if it was divided by A&R, which my understanding is it was, into 5 lots, it wouldn't be able to qualify under the Wetlands Protection Act as a limited project because the hardship was created through the division of A&R. So my question would be, in developing this, this is essentially a subdivision at 5 lots. So why was it slated as a common driveway and not a subdivision? I have a feeling that if a subdivision were created and a cul-de-sac was built, you would be able to get the same 5 lots, and based on the environmental conditions and the foresting and all of that, the board may have been willing to look at reduction in road size, some of those things as public good, which might qualify for waivers. What my concern is this is a subjective permit, and that by issuing one of the first dozen or so that we do for a lot that is in excess of what's allowable by the bylaw, in a lot that wouldn't be buildable otherwise, we create a situation where more people throughout town will do the same essential process. I didn't read the full record of the zoning board. It doesn't seem like there was many questions other than, oh, there's a lot of wetlands, it makes sense. Saving wetlands, reducing impact, great. You're building a 20-foot wide driveway, which for me, 5 lots on a 20-foot wide road would seem reasonable. Again, the difference would be maybe the creation of a cul-de-sac, whether it's a teardrop or otherwise. You're not over 25 acres, so you don't fall into the mandatory cluster requirements. So I think that, and my inference will be this is a failure of having somebody in the office to provide any sort of feedback and guidance, but I don't think that that removes the responsibility from the board to be cautious about the way that we issue these permits. The other things I have would be minor technical things. How far is the furthest house from the road along the driveway? Is it within the 1,200 feet of the bylaw?
The driveway is less than the common driveway is less
Correct.
than the prerequisite, yeah.
But Lot 5, again, getting the plans on the computer, it's not the easiest thing to scale out.
Yeah, no, I understand.
I mean, it looks really close visually, but I mean, I imagine your driveway's about 850.
The common is less than 1,200,
Correct,
and then you're asking this distance?
correct. That to the street.
I don't have that, but it's.
And I guess we would need an interpretation of whether it's the full length of the driveway at 1,200 or the common. That I'm not really going to quibble about because that's a straight driveway. My other concern is the geometry of some of those driveways and the house's distance from the common driveway. And if there were an emergency event, fire most specifically, what's the condition of the front yard and the ability to pull hose from where the fire truck is able to access reasonably to the home. And again, I don't have the information, so I don't know that it's,
Yeah. I think that the fire chief reviewed this, but Tanner might be able to provide
Okay.
a little more insight.
Yeah, so Tanner Cole, 856 Mass Ave. In terms of the fire department's involvement, they were involved before we even applied for the
Okay.
variance. And that specific question about the distance, the 1,200 feet, that was Brian Gingris's concern. And so based on his review and the fire chief's review, they were fine with it.
Okay.
So,
So I guess my position on this is, for a common driveway at 4 lots, I don't see this as problematic. The addition of the 5th lot, variance or otherwise, I see as a policy, a forward-going policy problem if the board approves it. And it, to me, I don't think qualifies as a lot that would meet the common driveway standards, because essentially the common driveway is providing frontage, because the lot frontage on Northfield wouldn't qualify under the definition of frontage.
Well, it does, though. It meets your definition. I mean, it was endorsed, you know.
Well,
it wasn't- I mean, I understand that your board doesn't make the determination of whether it's a buildable lot, but
But the
it does
distance
leave a
measured
frontage.
along the boundary of lot coinciding with the street line being an unbroken distance through which actual access to the potential building site shall be required. And
Right.
actual access is unachievable on that lot because it's 100% wetlands.
Well, it's not
Lot line to
100.
lot- It is not?
it's not 100%. The wetlands kind of weave in and out. There's just more wetlands obviously it's downhill. So there's more portions of the lot that have wetland crossings there, but it's not completely inundated with wetlands. It's not like you don't go all the way 800 feet back. There's fingers just like you have on the top part of it. So, I mean, I could create a driveway through there. It would be similar to what we're showing with the common driveway. There'd be some wetland crossings. It just didn't seem to make a lot of sense. I mean, it's legal frontage. We have the legal frontage on Northfield Road. I don't even think it's a backland lot. I think it's a regular, normal frontage lot.
It's 100 feet.
Yeah.
and
So, I mean, I understand your point, but I mean, I guess it just seemed to us that, you know, if we needed to, we could get a second driveway through there. It just didn't seem to make much sense. And let's just think about devil's advocate with the subdivision. Yes, you could probably subdivide this, and you probably could get more than 5 lots in it, because you'd be back into the nicer upland area, and you wouldn't have to have the backland lots anymore, and all this kind of thing. It just seemed to us that we're looking to do the 5 lots on 30 acres. What is the difference than if we were going to, you know, put a road in there that's going to look similar to the common driveway versus just doing it through the common driveway provisions? I think that, you know, if the zoning board of appeals hadn't been willing to, hadn't granted that variance for whatever reason, that might have been the next step. But, you know, we're kind of, I mean, I hate that, you guys, like I said, you can do what you're going to do, and I understand your point, Adam, but I guess from the applicant's standpoint and our standpoint, and I understand you weren't here, you know, I said that in my initial comments. You guys you had a board in flux, you have an office in flux, but the applicant's also gone through the ringer on this thing too. We're kind of down the road a piece a little here. So, and that's why I was very specific in my opening comments tonight, but also when we were with the zoning board of appeals. This is a very specific case. You know, we went on record with that because we know that your boards are put in precedent-setting situations all the time, and we're trying not to put you there. But I understand all that said. That having been said,
If you were to put a driveway through lot 5, what's the wetland, do you have an even, like, a guesstimate on the wetland impact to do so?
we did look at it. I honestly can't recall what it was. I don't remember. I don't have that off the top of my head.
Because looking at the plan, it certainly looks like the system at the front of the lot, if it doesn't touch both lot lines, it's like it's less than 10 feet on the eastern property line. So it looks like lot 5 stretches from the western property line and comes really close to that eastern property line, wetland flag A13.
It does, but
And
there's,
then it comes back.
there's 3 or 4 different fingers that go down through. But there's also a crossing, existing crossing that goes through the first couple.
Which was part of the logging access?
Right.
Which is technically, was it permitted through the state?
I think so.
Which is a temporary access, which is intended
That I
to be
don't know.
removed upon the completion of logging? Is that not?
Mr. Bernie, please stop making assumptions and ask questions.
I'm
okay?
asking.
And I'm going to give you the honest answer, which is that crossing has been there as long as I can recall. I've owned the
So-
property 15 years.
Okay.
It was the logging access before I was there, and it's just a simple area that's higher than the ground around, and it's at the bottom of the hill, and so that's where they pulled the timber out.
So it's not an area that was permitted, it's an area that's existed.
It's existed. And when we logged the land, we had the state forester out, and he approved everything that we did. There was one area where I wanted to leave a pipe in place, and so I went to Concom, and we did the notice of intent, so it's all above boards.
I'm not saying anything's not above board. I'm asking questions about my understanding of what's happening out there.
You just implied that that was temporary access that is to be removed. And I'm telling you, that is not the case. That has been there for a very long time. And we went through conservation and have done everything.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Bernie, I'm trying to wrap my head around some of what you said. In terms of you wondering if because I'm looking at Lot 5. I see a lot of wetland. I know that you can build access through wetland. Well, I'll actually turn to Mr. Roy first. What would be involved in building a driveway there? Because I'm trying to wrap my mind around, and I can explain this a little bit more.
Yep.
An aspect I take seriously of this bylaw in particular is to make sure that we're only servicing lots that would be accessible. Now, it might be far, far easier to have the accessibility on the common driveway. That doesn't bother me. But that's one of the things I even assured the town was when we put the bylaw through, was the goal was explicitly to not take lots that wouldn't have been buildable and make lots that become buildable. Now, there's an argument about economics, certainly, but over a reasonable enough time frame with the growth rate of this town, land's going to get built regardless. So what would be required there for there to be a driveway?
You'd have to do a second driveway permitted through presumably a single-family driveway permitted through Conservation Commission with additional wetland crossings.
Okay.
So it'd be a notice of intent process, essentially.
What are the standards, and you may know, or Adam, you may know as well, what are the standards Concom would look at about can you put a driveway there? I don't actually know Concom's process well. We get their results, but I'm not familiar with the nuts and bolts of that committee. So I'm trying to wrap my mind around if Concom were looking at this, what would the scenario be? And you can't predict how boards are going to react to things, but you can make guesses over what they might look at overall. So I'm just trying to understand.
There's a 5,000 square feet of wetland fill is the magic number. So if you look to minimize wetland fill or avoid it, right? But if you have no other choice, you can alter up to 5,000 square feet of wetland replication without, and presuming you meet the performance standards of that with replication and all the things that go along with needing to replace that wetland on site. But you can do 5,000 square feet without having to go in sort of the next permitting level, which is known, and Adam referenced it, is called a limited project. You would also get into more of a 404 or 401, I can never remember, water quality certificate, which is a sort of next level up type of permit. You can do those kind of projects, it's just a lot more effort. And you get into a whole other different level of performance standards, and the Department of Environmental Protection and the folks, I think it's the Army Corps of Engineers, would be reviewing that application for projects that would propose to alter more than 5,000 square feet of wetlands. I do not know off the top of my head what the total wetland alteration would have to be for that, for Lot 5, for the 5th lot, the one on the east. But I do know that, it's not, we're trying to say this in a way that makes sense. We're not proposing to gain access around, through a common driveway around a pond. All right, so it's a wetland area, so it's different than, so in terms of like whether or not the thing would be cut off legally from access, usually the legal standard, as I'm aware, is you can't create access to a lot through a pond and then try to get around it some other way, right? That's pretty clear. Other physical impediments, that kind of thing. This is a little bit of a different case. That's where the historical access to the property is on Lot 5. And so, would we need to improve it? Yes, we'd have to improve it to a driveway standard. But there's already an access going through there. It's just that it didn't seem to make a lot of sense. It's where it's the downhill side of the property. It's where all the water is going now. That's really, that was really our reason for even daring to ask, for the variance. We're not trying to, I don't know the right word, but we're not trying to get away with something here. I think that as I said, the next step would be to look at this as a subdivision, but it just didn't seem to make like it didn't. We have the legal frontage for the lots that we want to get in the land. If we created a road right away into the property, you probably could get more lots there. We're not interested in doing it. We're just interested in doing the 5 and calling it a day.
All right, thank you. Adam, what would you like the rest of the board to understand of your perspective? Because I've asked Mr. Roy, and he's given us his interpretation of that scenario. What would you like the rest of the board, to understand from your viewpoint here?
My concern is just the long-term impacts on the process of getting common driveways and variances to the number of lots. And not that I think that this was an easy process or that it was done thoughtlessly. It just, and I don't particularly love subdivisions, but I think that there's a place where they become the appropriate vehicle for the division of land. And my initial look at the wetlands, they appeared a little bit more, a little bit deeper at the front. I still think we're really close on what would be required to do it. I don't know, I understand the board's been through this and doesn't necessarily have other questions. We're essentially creating a subdivision without creating a subdivision. And I understand Mr. Roy's point. I understand why they're here and why they're approaching it that way. I think that economically, the additional driveway probably ends up into that limited project or Army Corps process. Does that ultimately get approved? Yes. Is it worthwhile for a single-family home in 2025? I don't know. That's not my necessarily concern.
All right, no, I appreciate that. So this actually gets to a topic I've been trying to wrap my mind around recently, in that it sounds somewhat to me like, when I use the word dancing, I don't mean negatively. It sounds like a lot of words that are kind of dancing around and sound a lot like concern about precedent, but we're not saying those words. Is that because we're not concerned about precedent, or because that's just a more technical thing, or do I not really understand the concern?
I would argue that precedent is a legal term of art, and courts create precedent, not boards.
That's true.
Courts create capital P precedent, boards might create small p precedent as far as policy goes. Special permits are subjective, so each one is technically based on the merits of the case, but if folks see or believe that a factor or factors lean towards the board having to approve it, you create potential for future legal challenges and argument and claims of inconsistency. So that's my concern is more small p precedent than it is large P precedent.
This is, again, I like to couch what I'm phrasing very carefully. Because this is one of those statements that sounds a lot worse than I mean it.
Those are my favorite.
Yeah. But, oh, sugar booger, I think I just lost it. It was precedent. It was, because the wording was very specific and it sounded kind of sketch, but I don't mean it in the sketch way. It's inconsistency. Isn't it just our prerogative, oversimplifying, isn't it kind of our prerogative and allowance to be inconsistent in special permits because we're looking at a holistic situation? Do I understand that?
You do. That doesn't mean that everyone who stands before the board in the capacity of special permit understands that or is willing to accept that.
Fair.
And doesn't have the time, money, or desire to test that.
Fair.
And I think that this board specifically has lived that, and the town in a greater sense with a specific individual. But that doesn't mean that there aren't more of those folks out there. And as development pressure pushes further west, they become more and more plentiful.
Not related to this, but just worth us understanding as a board. It is not within the memory of the people on this board as board members that we have had sticky, to my understanding, sticky, yucky, awful legal issues. But
They
that,
moved to the zoning board by the time you were all on the board.
yep.
What'd you say?
I said those sticky legal issues moved to the zoning board by the time.
But it has happened. And
Correct.
so sometimes I am just old enough on the board that things were fresh enough that that was a more common topic of discussion earlier in my time on the board. So the challenge of institutional knowledge. All right, I want to turn to the rest of the board. And do we have thoughts? Do we have, we're happy that we're willing or happy to share? Do we have questions? No, I'm just trying to gauge where we are.
I will say that I did read over the response to Graves, and it looks like everything was corrected. Most of it seemed like it was issues with the plan itself and not necessarily anything with the site. So I don't have any questions there.
Okay. Tim, do you have thoughts?
What, from this point, if it was to say, instead of doing this common driveway, we pushed to say that it had to be like a single road, like a subdivision, what goes into transitioning from what we have here to that, or is that a complete rewrite from square one?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, a subdivision, a permit through the subdivision control law is a complete, first of all, it's not special permit,
Yeah.
it's by right. But second of all, it's, a definitive subdivision is a completely different standard.
Sure.
You know, it's a restart for us, for sure.
And I haven't looked at this. I've assumed that the common driveway, because we wrote the common driveway to not require it to be at the level of the road that you would need for a subdivision. So I assumed, but I should ask, this
Yeah,
was not planned with
no,
at that level of construction.
no. You, I think have 24-foot width standard. You might have, your minor road might be less, I don't know, but even if the width was the same, there's construction standards that are wholly different. The plan requirements is a completely different plan set we put before you. You know, the stormwater and things might not look much different, but they'd be different. We'd have to reanalyze everything, you know, just, you know. So it's a different process for sure.
And for the board's knowledge as well, as a reminder, when we wrote the common driveway bylaw, we explicitly included language that common driveways, doesn't matter how you build them,
Can't gain frontage.
they don't get to become roads that are taken over by the town. That there is no avenue for that road, for the town to, by vote of the legislature, of the town meeting, to become responsible for that road. Under subdivision, it is fairly common, I think very common in the town, for the town to eventually take over that road. It's not obligated to, but they are built to road standards so that if the town has the option to take it over. And it, to my understanding, often does in the long run. That doesn't necessarily factor in directly with the decision, with any decision we make, but that's part of the whole layout of understanding the difference in road construction, but also why. Because then if you're building it for a road the town can take on, there are different construction standards, and that doesn't mean this is insufficient for the purpose, but then you're talking about a potential public way with all the requirements thereof. Okay.
So just to read your bylaw.
Yeah.
For, if it helps, this is 256.4A, I think I'm, 7, which is common driveways, A, which is the sort of findings. 1, promote efficient traffic flow. 2, reduce traffic hazards from numerous individual driveways. 3, in the judgment of the planning board, such arrangement will be more advantageous to the neighborhood. 4, consolidate, and this is the one I wanted to say. 4, consolidate access to lots across or near wetland resource areas. That's one of your
And
specific
that-
findings. And 5, provides sufficient access to emergency vehicles and responders.
And if I remember, point 4 is explicitly why the ZBA
Right.
did, because it met.
Yeah, it basically met they found that it met a soil conditions hardship, essentially.
All right, great. Do we have more questions for the applicant at this time?
I have a couple more.
Okay.
I see your utility easement. Are you above or below ground utilities?
I think, boy, that's a good question.
I just
Let
don't
me see if I
poles
have
on
it.
the plan, which is
Yeah.
why I asked the question.
Usually, if we were going to go below ground, we'd show it. And if we would not necessarily show it above ground, because we just put the poles
Within
in,
the
a- in, yeah, within an easement and within the limit of tree
Yeah,
clearing.
it
for the
just, it's,
commission.
it's a requirement of the bylaw, so I wanted to be sure about it.
Yeah, yeah.
My other question kind of spans the two permits in that you have a lot of facility that requires maintenance, and it needs to be shared amongst 5 folks.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think that it would be important for the board to either receive before approval or condition not only an easement, which I think is a requirement of the bylaw for the driveway and the stormwater facilities, but some manner of association
Yes, yeah.
that is attached to the deeds of the 5 lots that define the responsibilities, divide up the responsibility financially equitably,
Yeah.
and create a mechanism for those financial payments to be received, managed, and
Yeah.
dispersed.
No objection to that. Typically, when we do these, and I understand your board is fairly new to this, but there's a lot of towns around that's been doing these shared driveway special permits for a long time. Typically, when we do those kind of things, when we do shared driveways or common driveways, they always have an association. There's always a requirement in the permit from the planning board to provide that. Most of the time, it's provided after. Most of the time, you condition what you want that language to say. You're not going to say specifically what you want to say, but you're going to tell us the kind of things like what Mr. Burnett just said, that you want we call it a FAM, a financial assurance mechanism, that you want it to make sure it takes care of long-term operation and maintenance of the stormwater management system. You're definitely going to want to say that. That it wants to be operation and maintenance and plowing of the driveway and other shared facilities. So typically, that requirement is put in to the condition with stipulations for exactly what you want to see in that document, and then a lawyer prepares that to your board prior to whatever you want. So sometimes that's prior to the first building permit, whatever you feel fit to, whatever you wanted to put in there. And that would be the trigger for it.
Great.
And we have no objection to that at all. That's very, very common and necessary, for sure.
I thought we had included language about it, but if you haven't seen it there, then we didn't, and that's fine.
I don't think it was required to be submitted in advance, but you.
Okay.
So I
no.
think it just says that there needs to
Yeah.
be a mechanism.
Absolutely,
Oh, okay, that's fine, that there needs to
But
be.
I guess my point is it should span both permits.
absolutely. You definitely want to make sure that the stormwater management operation and maintenance plan is in that. For sure, yeah.
No, that makes total sense.
Yeah. And the easements go around all the stormwater basins and
Yeah.
things too, just to make sure that it's all covered.
Great. You said you had a couple questions, was there more?
Oh, that was those. That was-
Okay, super. All right. So I'm going to encourage us to have some back and forth talk with each other. Mr. Roy, if you want to sit down for a minute, feel free, because
Okay.
we're going to chat. I don't want to close the public hearing because I'm not convinced that we're not going to come up with more questions for you.
Close it now, yeah, no. then-
Yeah, no, like, even if people were like, I don't have any more questions.
I understand, deliberate, maybe have more.
Yeah, exactly.
I appreciate that. Thank
Yep, but you can stand there too,
you.
but,
Nope, I'll sit.
yeah.
Call me up.
And I see we do have public now in the meeting, so if you do want to make public comment on this public hearing, go ahead and use the hand raise feature in Zoom, and we will be happy to get to you. I say that, but no, I realize the public I'm seeing is you. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I'm not crazy in that specific way. I'm not leaving out other options. Okay. Great. I think personally, I think I hear, Adam, I think I hear your concerns on it. I think I share them, but I'm not convinced I share them at a level where the ZBA identifying this, I think that might shift me more in the other direction, but I'm still processing all of this and getting my mind together. I can see how the permitting could be, because I was looking, just doing some very back-of-the-napkin math that I don't have reason to think is super accurate. But I end up looking at it going, yeah, that is real close to that 5,000 square feet for the wetland fill. But I also get that that's permittable, that can be done, even at that level. And so then I kind of land back at, well, this, okay, it is buildable. Maybe the economics of the common driveway make it buildable now where it might otherwise be buildable in the future. But I feel like that was a challenge we recognized with the concept of common driveways at the time. That in the end, it wasn't going to result in more development. It might result in different order of development than we were expecting. Not than we were expecting, but like than would happen without it. I don't know. I would love other thoughts from members of the board, because this is, I estimate it on the complex side. You may not. You may look at it and say, Matt, this is obvious to me. Bam. And that's super valid too. There might not be anything. All right. Do we I mean, if we feel like our minds are relatively made up and we're not going to have more questions, we could close the public hearing and go to a vote. But I think we might want to, if this could be passed, I think we want to think a little bit about some of the conditions we'd want to put on first. Now, they've said they'd be fine with it, so we could hammer it out after the fact, but I think it's helpful to be able to get the applicant's feedback in terms of, would we be looking at X, Y, or Z? So if we were to approve this, what special conditions would we want to see? There's the submitting the shared ownership, operation, and maintenance plan for the common driveway and stormwater.
I would like to see that before the issuance of building permits.
I'm fine with that. And what do we want to specify certain things should be in that, or are we less concerned about that?
No, I think we should enumerate what goes into that.
Okay, so Jen, I'm going to need you getting these down as well, okay? What would we want to enumerate? What do we want to lay out?
I think the maintenance of the stormwater system.
Yep,
I think the submission of the annual reports for the stormwater system.
yep,
I think the maintenance, including snow removal for the driveway, long-term and annual. Vegetation maintenance along the driveway, because eventually that's gonna, within the easement, that's gonna come to be an issue with the amount of vegetation that's up there currently. They're gonna cut back the driveway, but eventually it's gonna start coming back in. Those are the big ones for me.
okay. Do we have others from the rest of the board? No, that all makes sense to me. I would not have thought of all of it, so very much appreciate it. Did you get Adam's points?
Could I just clarify, annual reports and You had 2 points on there.
Well, the annual reports are just required as part of the stormwater permits.
Yeah.
Part of stormwater, and then maintenance, including snow removal, long-term and.
Short-term.
Short-term, okay.
So if the driveway needs to be resurfaced, if something collapses, et cetera.
All right. Could you read those points back, just to make sure we have them in totality? Great.
I have a stormwater operations maintenance plan. The language should span both permits, be included in both annual reports. Maintenance, including snow removal, long-term and short-term, and vegetation maintenance.
Does that accurately reflect what you're saying, or what should we edit there?
It does, I feel like it's, I don't know. I'd like maybe to think about it a little bit before we vote on it.
Sure. No, you know what? There is also, let me go back, because I realize we also have, isn't there there's a waiver request here, too. The applicant is seeking a waiver to allow the common driveway to be constructed with recycled asphalt pavement or compacted gravel. Mr. Roy, could you speak to us about that a little? Because we are going to have to consider the waiver as well.
Sure. We're asking for a waiver. No, we'd like to just place recycled asphalt product, which is the millings, if you will, from when they grind a road, and they're essentially just recycled bits of asphalt instead of paving the whole thing.
So you wouldn't be, okay, so I guess, because our notes say recycled asphalt produce, which I'm sure is a typo, but wasn't sure which way it was going. So
Product.
Product, okay,
Yeah.
not pavement.
Not,
Cool.
yeah, right. It's
don't-
not a paved surface, but it does pack pretty, it's a more economical way of doing it, which is why we're asking for it.
Fair. I feel like we were super specific about requiring pavement on the common driveway as opposed to,
I was gonna say, I don't know that there's an allowance in here that gives the board the right to waive that unless it's later in the driveway section.
because I remember requiring it to be paved was a explicit point.
Yep. No, I'm not gonna be able to find it.
It's
Oh,
It's number, I just had it. It's number 8
yeah.
under C, design criteria.
Yep.
But there's nothing in this section or the driveways and entrances section that grants the planning board waiver powers.
You said it's number 8?
All driveways shall be provided with sorry, it's number 6. The common driveway will be constructed of materials resistant to erosion and frost heaving. And
Right.
sufficient to support an axle load of 34,000 pounds. Under all weather conditions, the common driveway will be paved with a 3-inch minimum thickness layer of bituminous concrete.
Okay. But recycled asphalt product meets the first sentence too, so it's kind of, but all right.
I'm gonna say, I don't remember the addition of the 3-inch minimum thickness of bituminous, but it's in there. Was that a negotiated addition prior to adoption by town meeting?
I think we put that in here. I'm almost positive. I don't think that was after the, I'm trying to remember. Were you our land use director for the entire common driveway?
Nope.
Were you here for the start of it, or were you
Yes.
not here for it? Okay,
I was here for the beginning of it.
okay.
And if I recall correctly, at the time, we talked about the necessity for driveways 1,200 feet to maybe not be bituminous because 1,200 feet. And as long as it was durable, dustless, all-weather,
Okay.
essentially. However, the bylaw says and requires that specific number and material.
Without going back and watching meetings to gain full context, I would assume that this was a recommendation that was included by Mr. Richard Harris, our interim land use director at the time. As I have learned that planners are like lawyers. I
Each of
can,
us will give you 12 answers.
yes, exactly. But I did see, I remembered it requiring bitumen, that we had a set. So due to that, we can't grant the waiver, can we?
I don't believe that we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you can find wording that would
Well, I was
allow
looking-
us
yeah, I
to,
was
I'm happy to
looking
consider.
see, because I know you've done waivers to these provisions in the past. But I don't see it, so. and
Oh, maybe
I'm
we
looking on my phone, so I don't know.
It may well be we screwed up on that one.
Well, you might have. Yeah, anyway, I don't disagree. I don't see, I see the language, and I don't see that, it's obvious that you can waive it.
All right.
But, I think our arguments are what they are. I think that we meet the spirit, certainly the spirit of that clause. Well, we meet the letter of that clause, the first part of it. You don't need 3 inches of asphalt to beat the first part of the,
What
is my
is,
point.
I'm looking for that,
it does seem like it was a last minute ad, because
yeah.
if you're going to make a performance standard like the first sentence, you wouldn't necessarily need to follow it up with a pavement. There's a lot of different ways
It's
of.
two disconnected statements,
Yeah,
essentially.
so if you wanted to require 3 inches of asphalt, you would just require 3 inches of asphalt and forget the 3,500, the 35,000 pound weight requirement, all weather requirements, because the asphalt would meet it. You see what I'm saying? So there's a little disconnect there, but. The only thing I wanted to say as I was reading this, I did see that, again, no, I'm not going to be, relative to the common driveway agreement, section B7, just above the design criteria, says no occupancy permit shall be issued for any uses, until such evidence of recording of the requirement of utility access maintenance easement has been filed with the building commissioner and planning board. Well, it says easement, so it doesn't say the agreement, but anyway, just wanted to point out. So anyway, our waiver request stands, but of course you guys have the ability.
Where is that in the bylaw? I'm on E code 360.
Where is what in the bylaw?
Our requirement, our requirements for the common driveway construction.
C8.
C8.
Sorry,
C6,
C6. I don't know why 8 stuck in my head.
7, C6.4,
7.
7, C6.
Let me go back and take a look. I am not good at,
What part of E-code do you want? Can help you. Did you click on, are you in zoning?
yep.
So it's section 6.4, driveways and entrances.
Adam, is it up on your screen?
Yes.
Do you mind if I just walk over and give a
Nope,
gander?
not at
Thank you.
all.
I think that I'm having a pain in the butt finding it on. Yep, thank you.
No, it's not over me.
Yep. I struggle, well, I should say it in your microphone. I struggle with the search function on 360, on Eco 360. The common driveway will be constructed of materials resistant to erosion, heaving a sufficient support and axle load. Yeah,
So I would think it would end there.
Yeah.
After conditions and be done. And then that seems like a separate requirement.
I'm less thrilled that it's there than I was, but it's there.
When does the warrant close for special?
October 2nd.
I say we put an agenda item on to remove the concrete, the bituminous concrete. I don't think it's necessary. I think if you meet the design standards, there's no need for that to be in the bylaw. I think it's unnecessarily rigid.
I think I agree. I would like us just to table that part of the discussion
Well,
till
I mean,
later.
that's a separate discussion because we'd need to advertise it on an agenda to have the discussion, but
But we can have a chat first to see if the board, if half the board is saying, I don't like that, or a good chunk of the board is saying, I don't like that, I got honest, I have other fish to fry in that time frame, rather than trying to do a campaign. But I also agree. Okay. So, yeah, I am unfortunately also of the opinion, I don't think we have the ability to change this, and I wish we did. However, we may be able to in a couple months.
and frankly, by the time he wants to construct, once we advertise it, it would be legal to move
Yep.
forward with it, and if it doesn't pass, then it would just be a matter of installing pavement over it.
All right,
I don't imagine you're looking to build this before the winter, so
okay,
he'll have
great.
an idea.
All right. So, yeah, I don't think we can do the waiver, but I'm glad we talked about that to be sure. Other thoughts on this from the board? If we don't really have more questions, we can, are there any other special conditions, let me say that we think we need besides what we just discussed for the operation and maintenance plan, et cetera?
I think that we should require that there be no further modification to the lots, and that any additional construction outside of the footprints that are there requires a modification of the stormwater permit. I think that goes without saying. I think sometimes if it's not in the actual permit, once the property transfers, it can get lost. If someone decides grandma's going to move in after they buy the house and they want to build an ADU in the backyard, or they want to build an addition, that's further modifying the footprint, further increasing the stormwater, requiring some manner of capture and infiltration.
Go ahead. It's open for, we leave it open for a reason.
No, I think that's fair. You could add a, if you're wondering how to memorialize that, you could ask as a condition of the operation and maintenance plan that it refers to the limit of clearing shown on the approved plan, and then reference that condition on that so that you have it kind of set in stone. Just a suggestion.
I am getting a nod from Adam on that. And so can we have some words again for Jen to put down so that we assume, so that when there's a motion made and we include the special condition, we have good words.
That there be no further division of the lots without additional review. And then,
I had any further construction to footprint needs further language to stormwater requirements.
Do it, yep.
Could I suggest a slight modification to that?
Please.
Instead of footprint, I would say any further expansion of the limit of work as depicted on the plan dated, the approved plan. Limit, just because footprint sometimes can be,
Say that one more time.
I would say any further increase in the limit of work,
or
limit of clearing,
the addition of impervious surface,
that's fine.
Or addition?
or the addition of
Okay.
impervious surface, because
Okay, that's
the
fair.
the limit of work
Yeah, understood.
could stay the same, and someone could put a pool in, someone
Yeah.
could build some other thing.
Yeah, but that's fine, that's fair.
Yep.
And what was the tail end of that you had in reference?
As depicted on the approved plan, and you might want to just put the date of whatever plan you
Yeah.
approve.
Which should be referenced in the
It'll be
decision
referenced in the
anyway.
decision anyway, yeah.
All right. Are we good? Do we have anything else?
Not in that, but I do have something a little tangential.
Okay.
This one, what is exactly the interaction between this board and the zoning board of appeals? Like, if this had never gone to the zoning board of appeals, but we as a board decided, you know what, it's fine, you can have 5 lots off of one common driveway.
We don't get to.
We don't get to.
No. If I am going to summarize this, and I'm open to being corrected, because this is my explain like I'm 5
Sure.
answer, okay?
That's what I need.
The ZBA, if there's numbers that can be changed, and changing that number fixes some bigger problem, like you're going to build over a lot of wetlands, so we can change it from 4 to 5
Gotcha.
lots. Now, is it more complex than that? Yes. But essentially, if there's a clear issue, the ZBA can change things like numbers, dimensional,
Yeah.
number of lots. The ZBA could not do things like change the whole parking challenge that we had with, I can't remember the address, but Il Forno.
Yeah.
Neither the ZBA nor us could change anything about that because we had no law saying we could, nothing in our bylaw saying we could give a waiver. And the ZBA couldn't do it because that isn't their purview. That is no, that's not changing some discrete thing. That's like changing the nature of what we were allowing.
It's well, yes, it would have been a use variance essentially, because it would have been off-site parking, and our bylaw specifically prohibits use variances. Or the statute prohibits use variances unless you specifically allow them.
But as we'll see later tonight, that's not always super clear because, for example, if you want to build an assisted living facility in most of town, that is a special permit before the ZBA. If you're going to build it in, I think it's one specific commercial district in town,
VCD probably.
yep, then it's a special permit before the planning board.
But that's not uncommon, and we'll get to that later.
Okay,
But
right.
Let's stick to this now.
No, that's fair. I was going to say, but like, there's some weird
Yes.
nuances there that at least on the surface aren't obvious. There may be reasons, but
So to tie back to what we're doing here, for this driveway to go forward, both the ZBA and the planning board have to be in agreement for this exception.
for different, yeah. Like,
So-
we're looking at different things in theory, but yes.
this board could theoretically not issue the special permit for 5.
Sure.
If they chose to, because that would be the discretion of the board under the special permit statute.
Okay.
But because the zoning board gave the variance, it gives us the ability, if we choose to exercise that expansion of the
Right.
bylaw.
Okay.
And to my understanding, if this were a by right use rather than a special permit case, we would be bound by the ZBA's decision.
Correct. If it were a site plan.
Yeah.
And somebody got a parking reduction, we couldn't say, well, we still think you need more parking. Site plan's an objective requirement.
All right. Do we have anything else from the board that we may want discussion from the applicant, or are we good to close the public hearing at this point?
No, I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We've talked about a couple special conditions. Do we have other thoughts, one way or another, on this? No? All right. We can have a...
How do I met?
Sorry.
Okay, cool. Sometimes that's a noise coming through Zoom, and I'm like, wait, is that? No, okay. So, to that end, if there's no further discussion, we could have a motion. May I use your notes, please? Oh, no, these, the ones you were writing. We could have a motion such as to approve the special, can we approve them both together? No, we can't. They have to be separate.
It's going to be better to do them separately.
Yeah, okay. For the common driveways, we could have a motion to approve the special permit for the common driveway at, thank you, 1083 Northfield Road, with all standard conditions and the following special conditions. One special condition, that the stormwater operations, I'm looking for the word, okay, that there should be the, Adam, do you want to state these, or do you want me to try to put them together?
I thought we had written them down.
They
so
are,
that I
but the
didn't have to
wording's
remember
different
them.
than the wording is correct, but different than I processed it. That's fine. I can
I
get it
think you
together.
can say as discussed and.
If we can say as
read it
discussed, that's great.
along. Yeah.
For the stormwater maintenance plan and common ownership plan, as discussed, as well as the, no, there's a second special condition that we just talked about.
No further division of lots.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No further expansion of
Okay.
pervious area or limit of work.
Got it. Okay, you're going to want to separate those because they're two different special conditions in the notes. Okay. As discussed. That was kind of janky wording, but it's all there.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Was there anyone who didn't vote?
No.
Okay. All right. Then that is approved. For the stormwater, we would also need a motion for the stormwater permit for 1083 Northfield Road, such as to approve the stormwater permit with the same special condition for recording the operation and maintenance as previously discussed.
So moved.
Oh, and the, for both previous special conditions as discussed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
I think we're good to go. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay. Difficult. But that is our public hearing. Next up is so we have one decision to review. There's 4 board discussions. Not all of them are, not everything under board discussions are big deals. Some of those will be quick, some will be more lengthy, just setting our expectations. We have a copy of the decision for 499 Northfield Road. And we can take a look at that if you haven't already. And this is just our chance to review it and make sure it's good. If we're happy, we can put our signatures upon it later tonight. But is that in our docs here for tonight?
No, I did not print that off.
Okay, has that been sent to the rest? That was already sent to the rest of the board?
I believe that's in there.
Did you receive that
I think
decision already in your email?
I didn't read it because I wasn't part of it.
Okay, fair, not a problem. I think that was in our email, and again, this is just a decision. I mean, just, it's our legal language, but. Yep, it went to planning board, cool.
I just threw it in the folder.
Okay,
Came out early in the week, I think.
yeah. Wednesday of last week, yep. And I'm going to give it another look through, but I've looked at it once already. Brian Gingras has also looked at it. Let me look at the copy that's in there in case it's different, but I don't think it is. Jen, I do have a follow-up question on this that I asked you before, and it may be under motions and conditions. The second one is the motion was voted Y in favor with no one opposed. I'm assuming that shouldn't be Y, but should be a specific, that should be the number in favor, correct, or all? I don't know the correct.
Yeah, Brian looked at this. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with it, but I wasn't quite sure.
Okay. Adam, could I get your quick opinion, since you are a planner and know what these things should say a little more?
Yep, let me open it up.
Thank you.
Ooh, that's a different format. Mm-hmm. Not sure how I feel about that. What am I looking at?
Going down a couple pages to motions and conditions.
Yep.
So you've got the first part. Lunenburg Planning Board made a motion to pass the site
The
plan.
motion was
approval.
voted Y in favor with no one opposed.
I'm assuming that, so the template that was used has, there's some interesting history with the templates that isn't bad, but there were,
It should record the actual vote.
that was what I was asking.
It
Yes.
should be 5-0, 4-0, whatever it was to approve it.
Yeah. So if you can change that, please.
It should say the motion passed by a vote of, and then the number. It should also note who made the motion and second. Motion by Mr. Wilsmer, second by Ms. Reed. The motion passed, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if that's who made the motions, but.
No, that's, all right. What I will, rather than take more of our time tonight, there's a few more edits that do need to happen. To that end, I'm going to ask Jen to take care of those tomorrow, and I will try to abuse the powers that be in the hopes we can get another DocuSign envelope. I get the impression those become more available soon or already are, so I don't think it will be an issue, but I don't feel bad asking for them right now.
Has the board adopted the DocuSign provisions that allow it to be recorded at the registry?
Not that I'm aware of. Is that a problem for us using DocuSign then?
For a decision, it could be.
There's a non-zero chance I'm going to have to ask you two to swing by the office to sign a paper.
Sure.
My apologies.
It happens.
Sorry, I'm just screwing it all up down here for you.
Thank you for screwing it up. I appreciate it.
I had a note to send Jen that language.
Oh, okay.
And it's in my planning board notebook, which very rarely comes to the office with me, so I'll try and remember to log on to my laptop when I'm at home and do that.
Thank you.
If you have another format you would prefer, and you want to send me.
You know what? If I'm not making the decisions, if I'm not typing them, I don't care what the format is.
Okay.
Yep.
You don't want my format.
Okay.
Yeah. This
This
was,
was the format I was given.
Yeah,
Yeah. Logan did a lot of great work to automate the process, but same kind of thing I am prone to do in similar avenues where my technical proficiency, sometimes if you know a lot about how to automate things, you automate them, but others who don't know the automation procedure, it doesn't flow out as well.
Yeah, I may,
So I think we'll be okay, and Jen, we can work some more on overall the template and everything if you need, okay? Great, not an issue.
We do have somebody else.
Oh, okay, great. So we do have more people in the, great, I see that we have more people. If you've logged into Zoom and you need to speak about something we are looking at tonight, go ahead and use that hand raise feature. I'm going to work with Jen on this to fix up a couple more issues, then we'll send it back out to y'all.
Perfect.
All right. Just closing a bunch of windows now, so I have them.
Hello?
Oh, do we have someone looking to speak?
Yes.
Hi, go ahead.
Hello?
Give us your name and address, please. We can take public comment now.
This is Dave Rogers, 82 Highland Street. I'm calling because I didn't hear after the call to order that the Pledge of Allegiance was said. Am I mistaken?
The Pledge of Allegiance was not said tonight. That is correct.
Okay. What do we have to do to do that on a regular basis?
I am happy, Dave, if you want to have a discussion in the planning office sometime about it. I'm not, at this time, I do not believe I have anyone looking to lead the pledge, and I'm not looking to use more of the board's already strained time to have big further debates about it. I'm happy to have a discussion one-on-one with you or with anyone else. I'm not looking to use meeting time for it because we have a lot of people here who just need to get to other parts of their lives as well, and I want to be respectful of that. But Dave, if you want to chat with me, I can certainly make time at the office.
Okay. I appreciate your position, and I very much would like to see this happen on a regular basis. And and without getting into a big debate, because I'm not going to do it tonight, when I was being shot at in Quy Nhon, Vietnam in 1966, I wish I were in other places as well. So I look forward to set up a time so that we can discuss this, and hopefully we can bring this thing to closure.
Great. Feel free to drop me an email or call the planning office, and we can set up a time. No worries.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Board discussions. I'm going to just take us in a different order because some are easier than others, I expect. I'm going to go with first right of refusal, 222 West Townsend Road. You may remember this. We said, we voted once saying that we weren't really looking, that we didn't see a recommendation. This is for open space.
Yep. Did we not do this last meeting?
No,
There was an update on the open space last meeting.
we talked about it, but we hadn't put it on our agenda, so we couldn't have a vote.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, no. Yeah. There was a submitting thing. We need to revote if we want to make a recommendation to the select board. We had found previously that there was no compelling reason for the town to try to acquire it. No planning reason. Open space, Tim, I believe y'all met, voted on it, and said, still not interested, correct?
Yep.
Okay. We can have further discussion at this time.
I'm 100% in agreement. It's 13 acres, it's wooded, I'm sure it's lovely. It's surrounded by homes and solar fields, and I don't think the town has any viable, A, funding to purchase it, or B, prescient use for it at this time.
Yeah, that was very much our discussion last time, for those exact reasons. So, but they just need another vote from us. I would look for a motion.
I move that we recommend they waive their first right of refusal.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. I will let them know. Next up, on the easier side, again, the Master Plan Steering Committee, or maybe not on the easier side, we'll see, would like to present at special town meeting basically where we are in the process, which is far along. They're going to be at the position, hopefully by special town meeting, that they will have, they may not have the full draft written, but there will be basically say, here's kind of, it won't be written because it's here's everything we're looking at, more or less final form, like broader discussion, just making the town aware. They would like our permission to tell the town about the work that's been done at special town meeting.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, no, I didn't think there'd be any issue, but I said I would bring it to the board. I don't think we need a formal vote on that because they don't actually necessarily need our permission to talk at special town meeting.
No, they're a seated committee there.
But they wanted to check with us, and I really appreciate that. Great. So, Kim, if you're watching this, we're all set. You're all set? Go ahead. Okay. Next up, let's stick on, so there's two other things. There's a review of the draft of the MBTA Communities Bylaw. Let me update us a little bit on where we are, okay? The office couldn't get the ad in quite in time for our public hearing to be on the 22nd. So we would either have, September 22nd. So we would either have to schedule an off-week meeting or just have our public hearing at the, what would be the second meeting in December, or October, on the 27th. We can get that publishing out in plenty of time, so I don't have a problem with that. Are we good with our public hearing on the 27th?
Yep.
Okay.
And are we submitting language before that to the warrant?
Yes.
Okay.
Our language is due on the 22nd, so, no, on the 2nd of
October.
October. So let me lay out our timeline. I didn't type it in my notes for this, but I have it in an email. Let me dig it up quickly. Of course, I clicked on it, and there we go. So tonight, I'd like us to review the current draft that was sent by Community Scale. We have the link to it in our folder. Adam, that's the one you've already seen and commented on.
Oh,
I sent it to Adam first because he is a trained planner, and I couldn't send it to the whole board because if you get one more person, then it's quorum. And I
Does
just
it have
wanted
my
to-
comments in it? Oh, good.
Yep, your comments are there. On the 22nd, we can review whatever changes they've made, see if we have any further comment, and then I'm going to take whatever we see there, or if we agree, whatever they submit after that for further changes that we've wanted for the warrant on October 2nd. The goal is for that to be complete, so we don't need floor motions at town meeting for any amendments. But that is a little bit of a change in the way we were going to handle it because, well, shifting sands. And then they would give us, and I have it here, and I've set the expectation with Community Scale, they'll give us the final copy by Tuesday, September 30th, to give us a couple days to make sure it is fully submitted and ready for the warrant. If you have any concerns about that, let me know. So I'm happy to dive into that first, or we can do master plan first. If someone has a preference, let me know, but we can just, all right. So we have the draft document. You can get to it from the, again, from the shared folder. And if you turn on comments, you will see comments that Adam and I have already made on the document. And for the most part, I submitted anything that was a clear, this looks like better, I've already submitted that as a request for a change. Because there's things like, oh, we normally do it this way, wording this way. And I can always request to be changed back if we disagree, that's fine. But again, just things like specifying dark sky compliant lighting. I don't know if you had a chance to review this before the meeting. It is fairly straightforward. We'll have another opportunity as well as at our next meeting, but I don't want to deny you that now. Adam, you had a couple questions in yours that were more like, well, what do we think we want to do?
Well, I had a lot of questions. I will say, on the record, this feels like the model bylaw just kind of thrown at us with minimal work to modify it. I don't know why we're referencing mixed-use developments. We don't have it as a right, so I think that's important. I think my first one was on the accessory uses. It has some weird gobbledygook language about what's allowed in the hard-coded zoning underneath. Take that out. That doesn't belong there. If we want to list accessory uses, we should say, these are the accessory uses that we want to allow to the 15 units per acre residential. Things like, obviously, parking is in there already, but storage building, community gardens, things like that, that would be reasonably expected in an apartment or other development at 15 units per acre. I don't have a specific feeling one way or the other of what those should be, but I think the language that's in there is not useful. They allow for multiple buildings, which you're going to have to if you want to put 15 units per acre, or we're going to look like the 70s Soviet Union. And do we want, and I don't know that we do, but do we want to have minimums or maximums for distance between buildings? Do we want to control the relationship of how buildings address each other on the site? We have the right to do that through the controls. Is that a worthwhile exercise, or do we just want to get something approved right now because we're kind of under the gun? Please stop me whenever you want.
No, I was calling up, so what I did was I retyped I took a fresh copy, retyped your and my input, and a little bit from Brian Gingras, put them together as new comments and noted clearly for community scale where there was a change request and where there was a note of us saying, hey, like me saying, hey, the board might consider X, be aware.
Yeah.
They said all the changes that we requested looked reasonable, looked like no big deal. Was there wording in this specifying the 26 units an acre?
26 units, 15?
Well, for our zone, for rezoning it, it needs to be 26 units an acre to meet our 340 or 240 unit requirement.
Oh, because they have us at 15.
They kept saying up to 15 units an acre, and that's one of the things I put forward.
Then I guess I didn't look at the numbers.
Okay, that's fine. I put that forward because Tri-Town is currently is built at 17 or so, zoned for 22 units an acre, and we had to bump up to 26 to get the 240.
Yes, okay.
So I submitted that as well, saying, hey, I don't see it specifying this here.
And I go back to my question at the very end is it possible to just modify the density at Tri-Town and leave that as our district and get compliant?
And I will pass that along after this meeting.
Yeah.
Because that might be, unless the board has an issue, if that's an easier way to fix it, that sounds like
That also requires the state to approve it through, but I don't see why they wouldn't. But
I'm not familiar enough with some of the inner workings. That's why I don't know if they want other things here, but I can certainly ask that question of Ned.
yeah, I just don't feel like, well, I mean, having an overlay over an overlay is fine, but.
Yep. I brought up the concerns with mixed use. I did bring up, I'm doing the thing because I read documents backwards. Don't know why I do, but I always start at the bottom and go up. Not helpful, but I did bring up that we use site plan approval, and that if it's entirely internal, it could be review, or if that's an issue for the state, but otherwise we use site plan approval.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if it's a separate process within this bylaw, it doesn't matter.
That's what I brought forward.
With stuff that I've kind of put out there, they're requiring dumpsters to be screened by either fence or plantings. I think that at this density, I would like to see outdoor dumpsters enclosed on all sides by a building, fence, and/or wall that has landscaping buffer on at least two sides, so that rather than them planting a bunch of $2 shrubs that are this tall next to the dumpster. It's fully enclosed, hidden, and then it's landscaped around that. And whether they put it adjacent to the building or standalone, it's completely enclosed, and it's not it doesn't become an eyesore, even if the tenants or whomever tends to miss the dumpster with their bags.
And so I'm going to say, I passed that one along, saying this matches what we have required in
Yeah.
previous similar bills. That said, I want to be clear to the rest of the board. What I don't want is for you to feel railroaded, because open meeting law requires limited communication, and I picked the planner, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, and I'm happy to be told that you guys don't want this or don't like it.
Yeah.
These are just my
So-
my thoughts.
Everything I passed on to the consultant was in the interest of getting this churned out to meet our needs. Anything we disagree with as a board that I've passed on saying, yes, do this, I can go back and say, oh yeah, mea culpa, I was wrong. I was trying to help you, go back to the original or something. So when we talk about these things, don't feel like we're already locked in.
Yeah, I feel the same. Matt asked about whether the stormwater language protects us. I recommended that we just reference the town stormwater bylaw, because everybody's subject to it regardless of what type of development it is. I've recommended that the pathways, the principal path, the pedestrian pathways, just that we note that they meet accessibility standards.
I did pass both of the stormwater
Yeah.
and the ADA, or whatever, the accessibility standards. Yep.
The integrated garages, I think that's the one that I'm on. Nope, I said, I don't think we should just require garage under. I think there should be, the front facade of the building should be residential, and then the remainder of the building could be garage. But, so it creates a facade of residential. It keeps accessible units easily accessible. Seems redundant, but, and it just gives it an overall better design, in my opinion.
I wanted to ask you about that, because I did not pass that one along yet, because I didn't fully understand what you were writing. But now I think, so you were thinking basically garages in the back? Is that?
Essentially.
Yeah, okay.
And what that does is it incentivizes better building design, and provides the opportunity for maybe a larger building, because they won't just build a 2-unit wide building and throw all the parking underneath. It forces some thoughtfulness into how you address the site with parking and the building.
Do we have a feeling about that request? Good, bad, rather not, like it? Yeah. Good. Okay, super. I have that in my notes to add, and I will follow up a little bit if I don't feel like now that I understand the meaning of that language, I think it makes sense to me, but if not, I'll drop you a quick.
Okay. Under the multiple buildings on a lot, they want to reinforce relationships among building. What does that mean? And how do we do it? And what are the objective standards? Because in 10 or 50 years, we're not going to be here. And honestly, in 5 years, it could be a different composition of the board, and there could be a different understanding of what reinforcing that relationship means.
So I let them know to expect that this is one where I said the board is likely to act specifically around objective standards, but I don't know how we make objective standards for that, or what that would look like, or I could say, hey, guys, throw something at us.
To me, it would be things like, what do we want it to look like? Do we want the buildings to have all the facades address a common courtyard? Should the facades address one another? Should the parking be in the back, and common areas are addressed by the facades, like things like that are what I would classify as objective standards. Do we want all the backs of the buildings to face each other? It's a little bit, it's probably different because it'll more likely be apartment blocks than condominiums. So you'll probably have patio space on both sides, so it's not like one person's private area is now in someone's front yard, but also you want to have solid design where the buildings interconnect in some way.
And it's on a much smaller scale, but I think it's 711 Mass
Yes,
Ave,
it
I
is.
think, is the recent development we approved, because it met all of our requirements. But a huge amount of feedback from the public is, wow, is that ugly? And it's not because the buildings themselves are bad-looking buildings, they're fine. But they're all that kind of weird angles to fit as much as you can in, and that, I can tell you that the office has been getting questions. I can't say people are calling in, but they stop me and go, why would you approve that? And it's like, well, because it's by right development, they wanted to put a house there.
People are going to buy them.
Yeah, like,
Under number 4 in the design criteria, it mentions minimum open space requirement.
yep.
Only mention of it in the entire bylaw. So I don't know how we require someone to count outdoor space towards a minimum requirement that isn't in the bylaw. Is it 15%? Is it 50%? Is it 80%? What is it? And how are we classifying it?
And I did ask if we could cite where this requirement is defined for clarity. Do we require a minimum open space for projects like this? Like in general, or?
Yes, in some ways. I mean, we don't have projects like this.
No, that's fair.
So, do we even want to allow parking structures other than integrated into the building of the housing? Like, is there a parking structure anywhere in Lunenburg?
No.
So I think I think it should come out.
I agree with that. I think having them integrated in makes more sense.
I think people would have a conniption fit if they started building a parking garage. In the interest of design flexibility and overall project quality, and upon finding of consistency of such variation with overall purpose of the MOD, is how we define what would allow us to grant waivers. And I think that just opens it up to random approvals of waivers. And again, this is somewhere I think we should put objective standards. Mixed use again. Architects are wonderful people. They are not site planners. It should be a registered professional engineer, in my opinion, or a surveyor for existing conditions or as-built plans. But architects and landscape architects, I don't think are going to produce plans that meet the requirements of developments of such complexity.
I did pass along for that we typically require plans to be developed by a registered professional engineer for developments like this, and would like this bylaw to be the same.
Same, yeah. And then my last comment was the one I mentioned earlier about modifying the Tri-Town
Yep.
Smart Growth District.
And now that I understand that one better as well, I will pass that along, because if that's an easier fix, if it's just take Tri-Town, change the numbers.
I mean, realistically, worst-case scenario would be the folks who own Tri-Town would develop additional units. And they've been good partners. They've been good stewards of the project that they own, and would it be more development? Yes. It's on an already developed site. Could it be family housing? Yes, but they also have limited capacity and limited space, so.
And the development was never built up to its max current zoning anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's only 30 or so units off.
Yeah, but it is lesser,
Yes.
and it doesn't add, we're not really adding by upping to 26 from 22 is not a
Correct.
big jump. I mean, that's what makes it paper compliance effectively. I was in talks with someone who reached out, I can't remember his name, I'd have to check, but someone we could work with for free as the services the state offers for more community engagement. And I'm like, well, good news, I think we're actually all set. And we had back and forth, I described what's going on, and there was some of it's too bad this won't result in more housing in Lunenburg, but overall good. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, but the discussions that have come from this, the big thing that came out of the public discussion was not, we can't have more housing. A lot of the public feeling was,
We need to do it in a different way.
yeah, we'd like to do it more thoughtfully. Which is a wonderful discussion to be having from a planning standpoint. I did, for the waivers, I did say we would rather more objective standards. This feels subjective, and there's a worry this could open the town up for a challenge in the future. Do we want to set those standards, or are we comfy with them suggesting some? I'm fine, if we have
I'd
things we
rather
want
have them
to,
suggest them and we can.
I'm fine with
react
that.
and modify.
cool. All right,
I don't know how much we've paid them, but we haven't gotten our money's worth.
the answer is 25,000, I believe, but we're not paying them,
We're still paying them because,
yes.
I mean, MHP is essentially getting its money through us indirectly.
Yes, that is correct. No, it's we're not paying them, the state is paying them. Well, yes, but. However, we are not the ones cutting the check. It isn't coming out of
Correct, it's not affecting the town's budget.
town budget.
I still would like to get the money's worth.
Yes.
Whoever's money it is.
Full agreement.
And I understand that the bylaw itself is not all the work that they've done. The compliance model and the mapping is a challenging and specialized thing that does require behind-the-scenes work, but for it to result in this bylaw is, I think, underwhelming was the word that I used in my initial response.
So what I have in my notes is that we'd like them to do the garages in the back, paraphrased, and again, if I need more specific, I think I'll understand your wording fine now, and I'll reach out if I don't. We've talked about objective standards for how the buildings should address each other. I feel like we should give them some direction on that, because there isn't, like, what are we looking for there? And you can say, nah, make them do it, but.
I'm kind of the not make them do it. I mean,
Okay.
I want
Something?
something on relational
Great.
location of the buildings, whatever it is.
I'm fine saying make them do it, but I just want to make sure that, I don't want to pass up the opportunity for us to define that if there's something people feel strongly it should be X.
Frankly, I've done this once, and I don't want to do it again. I'm much more comfortable reacting to
I
what
understand.
someone's proposing at this point.
Yep. And the minimum open space, I did say we needed to cite that. Okay, great. Do we have any other feedback? No.
Not at this moment.
Okay. I apologize. I know for the two of you, this was a little fast and furious and bop, 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 bop. Now that we've talked about it, if you want to see further changes made, do not add comments to the document. Because now that we all have access, adding comments there is a violation of open meeting law. So if you have changes you want to make, send them to me, you want to see made, send them to me directly, and I will pass that on. I'm going to pass on the results of this meeting. I don't think we're going to see much anything else, but I'll pass on other concerns if you have them. But send them to me and only to me. Don't use that document that previously had comments on it, because then we're cheating. All right. Thank you for the help with that. And answer questions from the Master Plan Steering Committee. The Master Plan Steering Committee gave us that long list. I understand Adam took a look at it in detail.
I gave you a little bit longer list.
Now, we haven't seen this draft at all yet, so we're going
Correct.
to need a moment to read it because, again, open meeting law.
Well, what I'm going to say is you're not going to read, it's 11 pages long.
Okay.
You're not going to read it and keep me here.
Fair.
I can give you the quick and dirty of it, and I invite you to take it home and digest it. After this meeting, Jen has a digital copy of it. She's welcome to share it with you and the Master Plan Committee. Essentially, I read through what they submitted, and it feels really unfinished. And so I have a few layers of concerns. And then I have some explicit feedback in tabular form responding to each of the recommendations as they were put forward. And I understand that some of it comes fast and furious, some of it is maybe not fully fleshed out, but I wanted to get the basics of it out. And I know there's a lot of, so I'll start with, there isn't a consistent voice for me through the recommendations. Some feel like they were from the consultant, some feel like they just took a survey answer and said, that should be something we do. And some of it feels, and lip service isn't the right word, inclusionary, which, awesome, let's include people, but this is a formal public document, and I think it needs to be written that way. And the way I look at a master plan is there's the 8 elements, and each of those elements, probably like 7 of them or 6 of them, have information and develop goals. And those goals then should have objectives. And the goals are these really lofty conceptual ideas that we may never, ever achieve. And the objectives are actionable processes that move us closer to those goals. And some of the things that appear to be included in the objective columns read more like goals. And I didn't mean to do that. The first one, the easiest one is the very first objective. It kind of just says, make more housing that's not single family. But that kind of leaves it wildly to everybody's imagination. We have 3 bylaws that currently do that. Should we modify them? Probably. How do we modify them? What do we modify them? What are we trying to get? Maybe we don't have a firm answer for that, but I think we need to take that and break it into small actionable things. Examine the housing bylaws. Identify the density that people are, things like that. And I don't think that the plan necessarily does that. And that's where I would like to see, over under, maybe step in a little bit more. And if they are stepping in and this is what we're getting, I have further concerns, but I don't want to go there because they certainly have seemed in the time that I worked with them responsive and competent. And I think the plan in general needs to be written from a singular perspective, and the goals and objectives need to be a little more mechanical. If the master plan committee, if the planning board thinks it's important that the folks who came out and contributed feel like they understand what's in the plan, and that's why it's written in the way that it is, then maybe it's a press tour, maybe it's a video, maybe it's a pamphlet that breaks down some of those things, maybe it's a series of meetings upon the final development of the master plan that outlines what things are saying and what they do in a way that can be translated long-term to folks. So I think it's important. The way that they've labeled relevant committees doesn't feel necessarily consistent, and I think relevant is subjective and sometimes. What was striking to me is there was not a single place where a staff department or member was noted as having any responsibility. And I will say this on the record, I wrote it in my memo, this is the most pressing issue in Lunenburg town government, is the micromanagement and the failure of boards to take a policy role and allow for staff to do technical work. Do I think that staff should ever be questioned? No. But I think that if everything that's done at a staff level is questioned, we lose sight of important critiques and important issues because they're just part of the noise. The school department recently said that they had almost $600,000 of funds from an override that went unspent. There was constant critique of the superintendent. She was not a good manager of staff or funds, but that was hard to pick out across all the noise throughout town government about how incompetent or lazy or on the take or unwilling to do work town employees are. It's not everybody, it's not every board, it's not every department, but I think there needs to be a reckoning in this plan about how that relationship between the board level and the staff level works and how critical staff is to the function of local government. Are boards and volunteers critical? Absolutely. There are decades of folks in this town who have dedicated time, effort, and done a ton of work. It's the 21st century. We have to start. It's been almost 20 years since this town has started professionalizing government, and we're still stuck in a push and pull between boards running operationally or being policy, and I think it's to our detriment. And I think that that's something that, again, I haven't seen any of the text of the plan, but I think that that's something that is important to recognize, and there needs to be at least some mention of it. And that's really the high level of what I said. And then I went through, and I really think operationalizing and breaking them down to their smallest component parts. I would rather see a plan that has 12 goals and 500 actions, 500 objectives. And if it seems stupid to take something that is in here and has 3 levels of action and break it into 3, it's not, because what you do is you create kinetic energy. You take the kinetic energy of, we want to do this, and you turn it into actual energy because, oh, we checked off that objective. Great. Now we can move on to this one. If you have something that says audit, change, implement, and people get through the audit and then they start the change and it's kind of hard, they're like, and it just dies. And they move on to something else, or everybody gives up. So the more things that are in there that you can check off as implementation happens, the better you're going to be at moving the plan forward. So that's my short version of that memo.
Now, Tim, over the summer, I've been less able to sit with the master plan steering committee and kind of help out from the board chair role.
Sure.
But I also understand some of the discussions I've had with Adam, with others, are a little colored by, I've missed some meetings.
Sure.
What Adam said, is there anything Adam brought forward that you're like, that you want to be like, oh, yeah, but that's not quite what this is, or that's not my understanding of this component? If there's nothing, that's fine. If there's a bunch, that's fine.
I think his analysis of it is pretty good. I think this has been part of the problem we've been having as the master plan steering committee is how we integrate with the rest of the boards and how we integrate with like the town government in terms of the people who are actually doing things. Like this whole kind of reaching out to all the rest of the boards is a pretty last minute thing at this point. And I think it just kind of, highlights some of the struggles we've been having as a committee trying to understand what it is we're doing and how to accomplish our final goal. I think in a way that we haven't necessarily gotten some of the direction and kind of breakdown from over under that might have been necessary. I think I'm not quite sure what I'm trying to say there.
Is it a struggle with lack of staff resources because it's been almost 2 years without a viable planner in the office? And some connection between the consultants and the committee?
I think that's certainly part of it. I think we as the committee we've been relying on over under to kind of give us direction as to what it is we're supposed to be doing, which then further takes us away from coordinating with the town itself.
Sorry.
Oh, say, no, but I would also add to that, there is a lot, from my perspective, of taking recommendations over under has put together through the public feedback process and then kind of putting it through their language. Our lack of a planner makes it rough in that there's less translation of planning language to the committee.
It also feels like there isn't an understanding in the plan of functionally within Lunenburg specifically, who's responsible for certain things. The number of things that the planning board has become responsible for was mind-boggling to me, like sidewalks, bike paths, I think there's a role for the planning board to comment on that, but these are functions of the DPW. And some of that isn't anyone's fault because I don't expect the committee members to know that. I don't expect over under to know that because if you went to any of the 351 communities, they all have just slightly different responsibilities across the board. So having a staff member who can guide that certainly helps.
And that's why, as well, in the spreadsheet we got, it does say, hey, is there basically, the wording's a little funky, but is there a bylaw that your committee's kind of responsible for? Not that committees are directly responsible for bylaws, but is there a bylaw under your purview that addresses this? Do some of your board's policies address? And that was part of where, like you see things and you go, is that really this group, much or at all? Was the master plan steering committee trying to cast a wider net and because I can tell you on capital planning the other night, last week, when we went through it, there was a lot of, does this apply to your committee? Yes, but only so far as if this is initiated as a capital project.
We had the same thing in open space. A lot of it was, this isn't really open space's purview.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, and I understand that they're trying to capture a wider swath. And part of that, frankly, was, part of this comes from committees saying, but what about me?
And I think what I recommended in there is that relevant committees could certainly stay, and there needs to be responsible parties. And those are the folks who should be driving the bus on this. And it's unfortunate that the committee doesn't have more guidance, because realistically, they should be able to just create the plan and say, this is who's responsible for it. And that's just what it is. And then if, you know, the DPW should be responsible for construction projects within the right of way. That's just kind of how it works. So the memo probably feels really harsh when you read it. It isn't intended that way. It really is intended to be constructive and give feedback. I got fed up about 2 paragraphs into the introduction. So I maybe was a little more grr than I needed to be, but I wanted there to be a reality check. I want, it's such an important document, and it certainly should shape the next 20 years of town government, that I think it's critical that we get it right. And hopefully, if they hire someone in the land use director position that has some experience, they can help mold that final plan in a way that will make sense.
Adam, do you mind if I take, so I have that weird hybrid relationship several ways now between committees and the planning office and the chair of this board. I'd like to take this feedback specifically. I'd like to take it and have a conversation with Rami about it and have him, with your direct feedback, walk me through it so I can understand some more. This does a good job, your feedback does a good job of forcing some of my more nebulous thoughts and concerns to coalesce. I don't share all of them, but I share an awful lot of them, at least in a very similar vein. So I'd like to use this to go and have that conversation.
Absolutely.
And I think that will help me bring clarity back to this board that we need, as well as to the master plan steering committee as well.
You can give that to anyone you would like.
Great, thank you.
And I'll say I kind of just threw the matrix that they sent over out and just clipped
Yep,
the written portions and just kind of gave a stream of consciousness response in the attached boxes.
no, great. So
I'll stop now because I feel like I've kind of stomped all over this.
well, these are discussions we need to be having. And this is why I am personally deeply grateful you volunteered for the board. Beyond the fact I actually actively enjoy working with you, I'm lucky, I actively enjoy working with everyone at this table. But beyond that, our planning resources have been deeply limited at a time that it really would be beneficial if they weren't. So having your wisdom is great. And if that means we get that wisdom as stream of consciousness in bursts that maybe aren't couched as delicately as we might otherwise, that is our cost of doing business.
You're getting I don't need to worry about getting fired, Adam.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I understand that. I've had that discussion sometimes too, where it's like, people like, you can do that? I'm like, well, the people who can fire me are the ones out there. So That's different. All right. I don't know how much you two also have feedback on this, or if we want to wait on our feedback, because I think we're going to come back to this and talk some more on the 22nd.
I'm fine with waiting. I just want to point out one thing that I think Adam did very well is pointing out how ambiguous this whole process has been. I feel like from the beginning when, we were told, hey, master plan, you have to come up with what you think Lunenburg should be in 10 years. I feel like that's quite ambiguous. And I feel with him pointing out that we maybe didn't have a land use director for the entirety of the project, a full-time land use director, I think that might have gotten a little lost of what the goals are. Now, Mr. Reed is on the master plan steering committee, and we talk mostly in generics about it. And his frustration is really the ambiguity of both what the goals should be and also the answers that were coming in on the surveys. He feels like exactly what Adam said. My husband's an engineer. He wants a solution to a problem. He doesn't want, hey, what if we did this? And so I think a lot of these points that have been made are mostly, hey, what about this? And there's nothing really actionable about it. And I don't think that's a failure of the steering committee. I think that's a failure of the leadership that we didn't have in the office, possibly the guidance of over under. It's a multitude of things that are kind of coming down. But I think this is a good start for sure. And I hope going forward, we can find those action items to make this a little more clear for people.
No, yeah, full agreement for me. With the understanding that as much as I try to do everything I can to be helpful right now, by the same token, I also take fully on my shoulders, I take willingly and understandably some of the blame for the lack of leadership on this, because this is something I've also been trying to spearhead, and I wish I had been more effective and on top of things from my role as chair.
There's only so much time in a day.
There is. However, the only actions we can control in this world is our own.
And frankly, I think what Amanda's getting at is this requires a trained planner.
Yes,
And
it does.
As well-versed as you are.
I am not.
You're still a layperson in this aspect.
The number of times at home that I turn to Lindsay and say, I should not be trusted with this.
Damn it, Jim, I'm a writer, not a planner.
Don't say that on air.
Yeah, the number of times I've looked around and said, I am the planning expert in the room, and I'm not super thrilled about that at the moment. No. I'm going to bring this back to over-under on this. While this is a public document and they're free to access it, I don't know that I'm just going to hand this to the steering committee as a whole and be like, here, because I don't know that it's meaningful to them in this way yet, but I could be told I'm wrong and do it. That's fine.
I'm not going to tell you to give it to them, I'm not going to tell you not to.
Yeah.
It's my feedback as one member of the board. And I think, hearing Amanda talk, I think one thing that I don't know that I included or emphasized enough, I don't think the content as far as vision or applicability to the master plan is bad. I think the presentation of it needs significant refinement, because there's the assisted living that you mentioned earlier. We should encourage the placement of an assisted living. That's not our role. Our role is to create the opportunity for the market to place assisted living here if that's appropriate.
And
it's a thing that I hear, I've heard for 25 years. We want more restaurants. Okay, then go find restaurateurs to come and locate here and be successful. The town can't, the only way we could encourage assisted living is find town land and put an RFP out for someone to build an assisted living by giving them the land.
And I can actually, I'll use that one as a good example. The reason it says encourage is that was a settle on, and it's not the best language, but that was where I would turn to the committee and say, look, what are we looking for here? Are we trying, because encourage was my wording. But it was in the context of, it's not that the town can build it or has any interest in doing that. But if this is something we're interested in, we should look in, are there obstacles in our bylaws, in our zoning, that get in the way of this? And if so, could we be making it easier for those who would want to do this?
And that's the language.
Yes.
Modify the bylaw to allow assisted living in more zones by right. And I even made some recommendations for a lot of them in there on things that they could be changed to or directions they could go.
And this is where I need to go back and have a discussion with Rami, because I'm a little out of touch from the summer. And my understanding was that a lot of the stuff coming from the committee was a little more touchy-feely, that over-under was going to then translate into nitty-gritty. However, there's been so much discussion, I'm starting to question my understanding of that. So I want to go back and have that, because if that is my understanding, if my old understanding is correct, I feel much better about the soft language in this.
And read through that, and
Yeah.
if you want to sit down and have coffee, let me know.
Okay.
We can do that, and I can help you understand anything that maybe you don't.
Okay, great.
I had been hoping by this point to have had more of that nitty-gritty language, the actual, because that was my understanding, is we were giving these things to over-under to have them say, all right, here are the things you want, here are the steps to accomplish it.
I feel, from my outsider perspective, that the committee has pushed back on broad ideas an awful lot that would make that. There's a lot of where over-under comes in with more technical language.
Yeah.
And the committee pushes back because they often, again, this gets back to they don't have a good planning translator. Where over-under, there's times over-unders come in with more technical specific language, and the committee has said, whoa, we don't want X. And then there's times I've been there and been able to say, but X really means this. It's a little different than we might think. And I think we are lacking that kind of, we talk about scientific communication a lot in society, but that's not the only, any technical area needs communication with lay people. I think,
if I recall correctly, there was a portion of the contract that was review the zoning bylaws and recommend changes, and they over-under partnered with Emily Inez for that specific purpose. She is a trained planner. She owns a planning firm that does significant amounts of zoning work. And so to have no real direct recommendations on bylaw changes other than audit and update seems inconsistent with what my expectation was at the outset of the project.
mine as well, and that is why I believe that, to my understanding, this is still more of a product of getting,
Of the committee getting feedback than it is of over-under translating to a final document.
yes.
And that's fair.
And, the committee's getting the feedback so over/under can translate. But part of this comes from a feel, like I said, it's the, and I'm not faulting anyone, because those who follow real tightly might be able to be like, oh, I know who Matt's talking about. You can, but I'm not faulting anyone in this discussion. And if it sounds like I am to people out in the internet world and TV, I'm not. But it's the classic problem of we made a 15-person committee to make sure every constituency as a planning board we could conceive of was being represented, and we simultaneously cannot get the classic quorum, by which you mean the 50%, for that committee to function, and we have others saying, but why aren't we at the table? And it's a very hard thing.
You do.
Yeah, no, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And that gets thrown out tritely as a way, well, who cares? It's not that I don't care, I care very much. But this is one of the ways the committee was trying to make sure, okay, how do we get
seats at the table?
how do we make sure everyone has, AgCom being one example that we never incorporated, and then just say, okay, well, we can give, if someone from AgCom wants a seat, we can prioritize them for an at-large, and that's easy. But that's one of many who go, what about me? How come I didn't know about X? And, it's hard. So I'm hoping that all of this is, I suspect, and I'm hoping, but I still need to verify and be convinced, that almost all the challenges we're seeing here are more from a lack of effective communication between groups, and are being addressed in a more thorough way than we suspect. And if they're not, then that's something we can look at and discuss too. Now, I just want to clarify, because this wasn't sure for a bit, like we hadn't talked about it. Adam, you probably are already aware of this. In Lunenburg, the master plan does not go to town meeting.
It's not required to, no.
No. Not that we can't, but ultimately, the approval authority is at this table. And I bring that because there was some discussion back and forth about the ultimate approval authority.
So my general recommendation would be that we develop the most acceptable, wide-reaching document possible. And once we agree and can approve it, I think we can take it to town meeting. And does it hurt to have a ceremonial approval at town meeting? No, it just gives us a potential feather going forward to say, here's the document we're basing actions on that was adopted per Mass General Law by the planning board, but also resoundingly at town meeting at this date. And so, as best we can say, this is the will of the people.
No, I'd like us to be able to do that, but that is not
It's not a requirement.
No.
And I think that would be more a function of this board than it would dragging over under into that.
Oh, yeah, no, that would be us as townspeople.
Correct.
Laying it out and selling it to the community. Not just presenting the community's own hard work to itself and say congratulations.
And ideally, it could be us and the master plan steering committee make the most, hopefully, impactful presentation.
I mean, at that point, you've got close to 20 people who can just stand up in front of town meeting. Now, hopefully everyone will be there, but they won't all be there. But that idea of you can have that many people stand as a group, just so people see this was a group effort. you were represented. No, I agree with that. Okay, I just wanted to, great, we will look at this again, and we will have to give some concrete answers at our next meeting, but we will have a chance to read Adam's comments. I'll get some more feedback as well. Perfect. Now, going back to the agenda. That is not the agenda. This is the agenda. Perfect. Okay. Abutting community notices. Is there any big projects?
No.
Cool. Committee reports, Master Plan Steering Committee. Is there more than we've talked about?
No.
Open Space Committee.
Yes. And this is my screw up for not taking written notes. There was a brief discussion about adding an additional seat. And I cannot remember what committee we were discussing the potential for adding them to the open space. So I will get that from the next meeting and make sure I write it down so I have that information for us.
Because open space is our baby,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So we would need to amend its chart. Great. Tim, if you get that to me before the next, the 22nd could be getting tight. If the open space wants that sooner than later, we can certainly put it on the 22nd. If not, I might boot it to November.
That's fine. This was kind of, upper level discussion. We hadn't come down to the nuts and bolts of it.
But once the committee has a concrete request,
Yeah.
send it to me and I can put it on our agenda.
Okay.
Happily, okay? I love it when committees we're responsible for know what they want. And that makes life nice. Municipal Building Design Committee has just attempted meeting once, could not, will be meeting this coming Monday because I said that committee has sometimes met opposite planning board since I am both our representative and chair, so I need to be here before meetings getting ready. I said I can't have it on a planning board meeting night. Like that I can't be present for that. So it's going to be next week for our first official meeting. The last one couldn't hit quorum. We have kind of a new charge from the select board that I don't fully know because I don't watch every select board meeting because only so many hours. But that's moving forward with the new goals from the select board. Capital Planning Committee has begun meeting for the year. Peter Beardmore remains the school committee's representative, even though he is no longer on the school committee, and more importantly, remains chair, which I think is lovely. Because I can tell you that none of us wanted that role right now. But that is going forward. We've had some lofty goals in the past that we still want to maintain movement on, but due to the town's current budget situation, Jen still being in her first year as town manager, and everyone's kind of limited capacity on that committee, we are not looking, we're not expecting to make big strides towards a comprehensive 5 or 10 year capital plan this year. Economic Development Committee, coming up, October, I'm going to look at my calendar because I want to get that date right. The town government meet and greet is upcoming. It is scheduled for October. Did I not put it on my calendar yet? Lovely. I want to give the residents that date.
October 2nd.
October 2nd, thank you. That is October 2nd at Smokestack. This is our 3rd annual town government meet and greet where Josie Gilchrist is now the chair of the Economic Development Committee, and she has been working hard to make that a success as always. As always, members of town government, including this board, are encouraged to attend. It is a chance for people to get to meet those they're going to be interacting with before they're over at the podium and we're up here, before they're sitting across a desk in the planning office. It's a chance to chat with a quesadilla in one hand, a plastic cup of wine in the other, and just, it's a great way to make initial introductions and connections. I encourage anyone in town government to attend. It has been super enjoyable in the past, as well as if you're a business owner in Lunenburg. If you're considering starting a business in Lunenburg, this is a good, if you're in that process that you're really feeling it out, this is a good venue for you. Make those introductions. Yeah, I'm just going to start using 2 screens in the future. I give up. Stormwater Task Force.
We have not met since the last meeting.
Okay. MRPC, Amanda, I apologize. You sent that out, and I went, oh, I have to make sure I attend that meeting, and then forgot.
That's okay.
But I
I
can,
wasn't available.
yeah, no, but I know that you can't do it for the year, and I or Adam can make sure to hit the others as we go forward.
Only 3 more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Montechusett Joint Transportation Committee.
We have not met since our last meeting. We'll meet this week on Wednesday.
Cool. Okay. Minutes approval for August 25th.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Love it. Meeting schedule, we meet here at 6 PM at Town Hall unless otherwise noted. Upcoming meetings include the 22nd of September, the 27th of October, and the 10th of November. Which, yeah, that should be correct, okay. We are not meeting, we only have 1 meeting in October due to the federal holiday, and that coincides with our typical meeting day, as it often does. All right, is there any other public comment? Seeing none?
Motion to adjourn?
I'm required to ask if there's board comment.
Oh. No.
No.
Now, go ahead.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for watching out there. Have a great night, Lunenburg.